Thought transmission makes her wet. Okay? I'm Neil Larthos, the next Abdullah in the flesh, and I'm going to teach you about the power of thought transmission. If only you truly knew just how powerful you are. Now, just like all of my videos, even though this is going to be about thought transmission, I always like to give the fundamentals of manifesting, from the I am to the techniques that you got to do. So without further ado, let's begin. Now, about thought transmission, what you need to know, just like with any technique in manifesting, is that you are God. Okay? The easiest way to understand this is the 3D reality, your circumstances are part of your senses. Your senses are connected to your body, and you react to your senses through thoughts, through understanding, which happens in the brain. What do I mean by your God? Well, you, if you're a guy or even a girl, if you are trying to make another girl wet, what you perceive in your reality is in your body and your mind. But if you're God, you are the observer of your body and your mind. You aren't the mind, you aren't the body, you aren't anything that you can see, taste, or feel. And when you are able to separate yourself from the 3D reality, also known as the mind and the body, you realize that since you're the observer, you're in control. And when you have separation from the senses, there's a little space there. So what are you going to do with that space? Replace the space. And this is where you put your techniques of manifestation. Because a lot of people don't know that they're God. A lot of people don't know that we are eternal beings in a human experience. You're going to put your thought transmission in that separation from you being the awareness, also known as the observer of the mind and the body, and you're going to put thought transmission there. So I know that's a lot to take in, but just know that you aren't the character that you're playing in what we call reality. You are not the avatar. You're not the guy who's going into his 9 to 5 every day. You're not the girl who rides the train every single day in commute to her job. You are the observer of that woman who rides the bus to work. You are the observer of that gentleman who does the 9 to 5. Your life is the PlayStation video game console on the TV. You are the one behind the controller. Okay, so now that we got that covered, we can move on to the meat and potatoes of what you came here for thought transmission. So you clicked on this video and you said, this guy is saying that I'm gonna make my SP moist for me, practically just sexually obsessed with me. Well, yes, and yes. It is very possible. Now look, if I had to look at the dial of success stories of where this worked, I mean, I've already said my most popular one on this channel about the girl who we were not even engaging at all at work. This happened like 2 or 3 years ago when I just got into Neville Goddard. But I wanted to use her as a guinea pig. We would never talk, we would never chat, you know, we practically didn't exist for each other. But I found her attractive and I thought she would be a brilliant experiment. Well, all I did was whenever we were in the same workstation, I would say affirmations to myself, whether it was under my breath or in my mind. And I don't know what came over me, but I just said, not only am I gonna say that that she likes me, that she wants me, that she's obsessed with me. But I'm gonna make it good. I'm gonna go hard or go home. I told myself that she cannot stop looking at me, that she brought 5 pairs of panties to work because she cannot stop going to the bathroom, masturbating to me. Within weeks, she was doing this really weird behavior on Instagram, blocking me, unblocking me, blocking me, unblocking me. Weeks after that, she starts making the most goofiest excuses to talk to me at work. Even when I would be talking to a coworker, she would butt in and give me her 2 cents, like, who the hell's talking to you, bitch? Fast forward to maybe 1 or 2 months later, we end up hooking up in the storage room. Thank God HR didn't find out. And this was a girl who acted like I didn't even exist, okay? Now again, obviously, all you skeptics out there could say, well, look at you, Neo, you're fucking sexy. Well, first of all, I know that. And second of all, still, guys, let's be real. How many times does a girl just all of a sudden resurrect from the grave and starts giving you choosing signals left and right? It's very uncharacteristic of women, yet it's not uncharacteristic when you recognize your God power. Now, the same way that I used thought transmission on this girl, and by the way, it also worked on several other girls, but I don't want to make this video, gosh darn 40 minutes long. If you guys want to see a part 2, let me know, and I can give you those other success stories there. Okay, I'll go ahead and tell you one more. There was another girl who, well, should I use that one? Actually, yeah, I'll use this one. A lot of my success stories have been at work because I'm a workaholic, guys, okay? I don't really, I'm not a clubber, okay? I'm not, trying to get the, librarian at the bookstore, okay? Let's be real with you guys. If you want to judge, call HR. But there was a girl who, when this young woman started working, all the guys were all over her, man, to the point where everybody knew that she was basically the store slut. However, I was one of the guys who was not giving her the attention that other guys were giving her. Now, granted, I know any of you red pill guys are already gonna say, well, that already won you 10 points, Neo, because it's always the guy who cares the least that she goes for. But again, I would never talk to this girl, okay? And on top of that, she openly told everybody that she doesn't like tall guys, yet me and her are practically the same height. Fast forward to about a couple weeks after she started working there, and I didn't really do any techniques with her. But whenever I would see her, passing by at the job, I always would just have this assumption. I don't even know necessarily where it came from, but I always just said, yeah, one of these days we're gonna hook up. That's it. I didn't do sats, I didn't do robotic affirming. I wasn't talking about how many pairs of panties that she was bringing to masturbate to, like I did with the other girl. This was actually after I manifested that one. Well, I just had this assumption, right? And there were so many times that I had assumptions with SPs, after I got into manifesting and even before. But she was a really attractive girl, and if this was the old Neo, he would have said, no, this girl's out of your league. But again, I just had this confidence about myself, and I only said that assumption maybe once consciously, and after that I just held it. I will say that one point I did kind of have like a daydream where I was like, okay, one day we're gonna, make out in the attic. The first time that we ended up hooking up was in the attic, and it was just like I predicted. But what I'm trying to say is you want to get to the point where your techniques are not the end game. You want to get to the point where you can just assume, just like I did with the second SP, and it happened. You know, with her, she was the one who was initiating everything, okay? It was one of those situations where she would ask me for help, and it became blatantly obvious that she was, you know, asking help for things that she could clearly have done on her own, but it was just an excuse to get close to me, you know? And that's the way that it can be without you having to robotic affirm, without you having to do thought transmission. But the best thought transmission is the one where you say it once and it's done, right? But I will say this. Okay, we're gonna have to cut that part out. Okay. 1, 2, 3. But thought transmission techniques. So one of the things that you might be wondering is, how often do I have to do it? Do I have to do it when the person is there? Do I have to say it throughout the day? Yada, yada, yada. Look, the easiest way to understand thought transmission is that it's basically just affirmations, right? But when people refer to thought transmission, they're talking more in the sense that everyone is you pushed out. And if you don't know what that means, it basically means that whatever you believe about yourself, you're going to see reflected in other people. If you believe that you smell like shit and that someone's going to see the big pimple on your face, no matter how hard you try to hide it, somebody's going to point it out, because you keep telling yourself, they're going to notice, they're going to notice, they're going to notice. No matter how many times I try to cover it up in high school, or, you know, when I was in the 10th grade, it was ridiculous. I mean, I could have been, you know, dressed like a mummy, and they would have just been like, gotcha, bitch. It was the same every single time. Well, it's the same thing with when you're trying to attract a woman, or vice versa. They're going to reflect the way that you feel about yourself. So if you know that no matter how hard you try to hide a physical insecurity, that someone's eventually going to point it out, because you keep telling yourself that someone's going to notice, it's the same way that you can reverse the tables into your favor. If you tell yourself, like I did with the first one, that every single time that she sees me, she has to go to the bathroom to relieve herself because of how sexy I am, which is why she brought 5 pairs of panties, right? If you tell yourself things like that, yeah, they might not actually match the exact amount of panties that they take to work, and she might not even be going to the bathroom to masturbate. Yeah, she didn't go to the bathroom like ever when she was on shift. But again, I got the end result either ways, you see? So whether you're making your affirmations extremely ridiculous or exaggerating them, or just saying that I'm full of love, I attract healthy relationships, the girls are obsessed with me, I'm the most attractive guy in the room, whether you make them more subtle like that or if you go crazy, the point is as long as you keep your thoughts positive. Now, to answer the question of if you should do it robotically, if you should do it all the time, I will say this: if you tell yourself that you have to, then you have to. But again, try to get some reps in and try to get some successes under your belt, some small successes under your belt. And when you start seeing that this manifestation shit works, you're going to eventually gain the confidence, and you're going to get to the point where you don't feel like you have to do techniques all the time. Because I'm going to be real with you, I love this manifestation shit, but you know, I'm manifesting some serious stuff in my life, and it gets tiring after a while, where you feel like you have to discipline yourself. I mean, this is not going to the gym, guys. You know, manifestation is so powerful that when you realize that you're God, all you have to do is say, let there be light, and boom, the heavens are born. okay? And that's the way it should be. So I will say this, try to get to the point where you don't believe that you have to do it all the time. But the easiest default would be whenever she comes to mind, kind of like my boy, the next Neville Goddard, Eric from The Power of I Am, like he says, whenever it comes to mind, describe it to yourself like if it was already the way that you wanted it to be. So maybe if you were so busy focusing at work, or maybe you're a guy who's out at the club, or you're with a group of friends, focus on what you came there for. If you're at work, focus on your work. If you're with your friends, focus on what the boys are talking about. You know, you're shooting the shit, talking about, you know, the Dodgers game, focus on the Dodgers game. But when there's, you know, radio interference and all of a sudden she comes to mind, great. Say that she is in love with you. She cannot stop staring at you. She's talking about you nonstop with her friends and just dying to get in your pants. And actually, let me rephrase that. Even if she's all the way over there in the corner, let me change that. Don't talk as if it is still brewing. Talk as if it's already here. Even if she is, you know, ignoring you all across the room, say that she can't keep her hands off of you and everybody's talking about how great of an item you two are. You see, I actually almost made a big boo-boo right there. Don't say she's texting me all the time, she can't wait for us to go out, she wants me to go over there and talk to her, because again, you're not in the in state, right? Because a lot of us want to manifest a text message, and then we get the text message that we've all been waiting for, but then she just friend zones our ass. You want to think of the end game. Your end game is not a text message. Your end game is not the honeymoon phase. Your end game is you guys have been fucking for months. You guys are in the relationship of your dreams. It is such a great relationship that they're going to write an article about it in People magazine. Okay? You see, you saw me make a mistake there in real time. Don't do that, fellas. Even if she didn't show up to the party, okay? Who gives a shit? She is giving you hickeys all over when you're trying to talk to the boys about the Houston Astros. So again, guys, thought transmission. I'm sorry to make this so anticlimactic, but all it is saying affirmations whenever the person comes up in your brain, whether they're there or whether they didn't show up to the party or whether they flaked on the date that they were supposed to go on with you. Say that you and her are having a great time and she gives massive bomb-ass head. Whatever you got to do. Now, again, if she flakes and you still want to stay with her, I mean, that's up to you. But just know that if she did actually flake, it was probably something based off of your past assumptions, because whatever you see in the 3D reality is just a reflection of your past assumptions. But that's another video, guys. But again, like my boy from The Power of I Am says, describe whenever she comes to mind like if you are in the outcome that you want. And know that whatever you think that she's thinking about you, or whatever you feel that she feels about you, she's feeling it right now, because that's what you said. So you better make sure that whether it's affirmations, visualizations, or whether it's inner dialogue, you don't have to make this any more difficult. All you got to do is make it of your desired outcome. It doesn't matter if you can't visualize properly. Remember, visualizations, just treat them like memories. They are the same video format of your memories. When they say, hey, do you remember when we used to tie our shoelaces together in first grade? You don't remember exactly the color of the shoelace, or if you guys were wearing, you know, khakis or a baseball cap. All you remember is bits and pieces. And if the visualization is bits and pieces, who gives a shit? What matters is the implication. What matters ultimately is that you realize you don't need a technique, because when God said, let there be light, the heavens were formed. He bore a woman out of man from the ribs of Adam. And all you have to do is say it once. Don't make this any more difficult than you need to be. I am Neil Lartos. This is all that the I'm Awareness had to say. And I know you're going to be okay.